Pete, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, man. How's everything with you?
It's good, man. Pete Olander, Happie Beverages.
Awesome. Pete, I want to jump right back to the origin story of Happie Beverage. So give me the year that the idea hit you right in the head.
2018 is when it came to fruition, but probably 2016 is when it hit me in the head of kind of the name. And I knew kind of where I wanted to go with it, but bringing the product together and having it created was 2018.
And then when that concept hit your head, what paint the entire scene? Like, are you on the couch? Or are you driving? Like, what's going on? And what's the context of, you think, kind of what was the bubble up of that?
Well, I got the idea kind of when I was working in the nutrition industry. So prior to joining this, I worked at a nutrition industry company designing formulations for athletes and just wellness products. And we were working in kind of greens products. And it's about that point in time that I got introduced to CBD as far as anti-inflammatory benefits. And I thought it was really cool, but it was still fringe. I mean, back in 2016, we're, 10 years ahead and we're still talking about the legality of it. But I knew it worked, and I wanted to find a fun way for people to consume it and, not be self-conscious about it.
What made you choose the avenue that you chose as far as that goes versus any of the other fields? I know you're a little bit in multiple categories, so kind of talk a little bit about how you chose which category to jump in.
As far as the product type?
Yeah, as far as your product and portfolio, yeah.
Yeah, so I had experience working with ready to drinks, energy drinks inside like that, so I understood kind of what it took, how to formulate. So I created these formulations, and that was kind of an easy route for me to go, just because I was comfortable with it. Now, kind of what transpired after that is after the product did start going, when we were starting to get some momentum and movement, COVID happened and they shut down a lot of the accounts that we were going into. So what happened is I decided that I needed to get closer to the plants. So we went out to California, purchased a license. So we do operate in the regulated market, in our other product lines, but that was a real way to, be close to, the genesis of the industry and, be with kind of the people who, the culture, growing techniques, and it was the biggest, it had the most experience of anywhere else in the country at that point in time. I think still does. And that really, allowed me to learn more about it, understand, how to properly use it, what to look for as far as quality ingredients, quality farmers. And, we just grew from that.
When you kind of talk me through your life prior, when you were thinking about when you were working in the nutrition space, were you entrepreneur in that sense and had your own business, or was that also kind of a mind shift that you had to make when you did this transition?
No, I was kind of ran the operations,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy who started it was in the NFL for 16 years, so I got exposed, and he created the nutrition programs, and he introduced me to really the next level of nutrition and body optimization and things like that. So we're always looking for, hey, what's the next thing? What's a more natural way for people to get these benefits, right? So that's really what launched me into diving into that. Prior to this, I was in finance. I worked at JP Morgan. But I've always been kind of a health nut into nutrition and fitness. So I just kind of naturally gravitated towards that. And it's there where I learned the operations and kind of, really how to formulate. And, I cut my teeth on, consumer packaged goods, but there was a heck of a lot more to learn as far as the marketing side and the logistics. And I learned that, in a big way when I started Happie myself.
What really do you think was the catalyst to you wanting to start your own business as opposed to doing like the entrepreneur type thing and kind of latching up with another company?
It's not that I didn't try.
Mm-hmm.
I tried multiple times to partner, but this industry is turbulent. It's still turbulent today. Think back to 2018 when you were like, "Hey, I got a great idea for this," And, there's some that have been around that long, but not many. And, typically when people are taking that big of a stake in an industry very young in its infancy, they want to see their vision to fruition, right? So, but I'm very open to, working with other people. That's how I learn. And that's the whole reason I've been able to, continue on and get this far is because of, other projects I've worked on with people in the industry. And, now, we're getting a lot more opportunities, just because of kind of what we built and our infrastructure.
I know we've had a few conversations this week with everything and the legislation changes and the new additions and things like that. What, we kind of look at things in more of an optimistic way of it, as opposed to a ban. It's an opportunity for regulation, and it's an opportunity for structure and things like that. Where do you see things as far as it stands at this moment, knowing there's still some dust to settle, and kind of, do you see it as a moment of opportunity, and kind of what steps need to be taken as far as that goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're nimble, it's a great opportunity, because at the end of the day, I mean, what does everybody want? Everyone wants jobs, stability. I mean, that's the most important thing, I think, to any politician, to have their voter base, be happy with having jobs. So I think taking away jobs is a horrible thing. Now, I think there are some benefits too, especially for a company like Happie, because we've done things the right way. We've always done compliance, real tight supply chain. Hey, let's make sure we do have some checks and balances and some regulations with that, because not everybody does that. I'm not saying, but there are some good companies out there. And I think at the end of the day, we got to give a safe product to our customers, right? We got to make them feel comfortable, consuming and enjoying it without worry. And, if something comes for this, maybe it's just having some more regulations, some more checkpoints, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I come from the California cannabis thing with the Department of Cannabis Control. I'm very used to very heavy compliance, so this, it's kind of expected. And if they want to go along those guidelines and do that, as a company, we're well prepped, because we're doing it.
Yeah, it's one of those. That's where my stance is. It's one of those things that it always needed regulations, and the brands that I have in my portfolio are ones that have their lab tests and everything like that. And there's transparency, there's paper trails, and it's I've told this story a few times on here that I fired people in the past because they didn't. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is a principled thing in our portfolio, and it's also, being that we straddle the alcohol industry as well as the THC industry. We're used to regulations. You know what I mean? We've been dealing with this for a long time in that space and everything like that. So it's definitely one that has been anticipated and waiting. And I think the actuality is, I also see the opportunity with regulations. Thus, then banking institutions, investment companies, the industry can grow and be sustained and be invested in properly when there's proper regulations, as well as buyers and retailers and distributors having the confidence to make those purchases and make those investments. So it honestly, people are surprised and excited to see how big the industry is at this moment. If it was properly regulated and invested in, it could be exponentially greater. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. It was cowboyed together, and it is this staggering economic impact. Imagine if it was properly invested and regulated.
Exactly. So, I mean, but hey, every industry, and there's stages to it. I do think we're in the third inning right now, where we've gone through some bumps. Obviously these alcohol companies and distributors are very interested, because we are contributing a bigger and bigger piece of their revenue. So there's a lot more at stake here. And the interesting thing about the beverages and this farm bill, I think there are going to be some issues with some gummies and some flowers, but beverages are in a different category, because there's different checkpoints already. Number one, you have to do this at a compliant facility that has tanks, and there's a lot of people going in and checking this stuff for that stuff. And then in addition, before our product goes even in the drink, it's tested to make sure it is what it is. We have to know where the farm is that it came from, and then after the product is produced, it has to be tested again. So it's like triple check tested in a compliant facility, whereas some of these other products, there isn't that many touch points. So, and that's kind of what has given these beverage distributors and alcohol companies a little bit of peace of mind and some risk mitigation. Is like, hey, look, this has been verified. If this, because to get to this level in a can with this, there had to be some thought and planning and some processes in place.
Absolutely. It's interesting to think about, like, for you, what I mean, I don't want to be cheesy or anything like that, but like, think about somebody that's right now, like, they did the right things, they got their COAs, they were lab tested, but they're new into running their own business. This news can rock some people like that. You know what I mean? They may run, they may do whatever they need to do. What kind of advice would you give to somebody from, like, a, let's say, a, mental stability standpoint, or kind of a motivational standpoint, to kind of head the storm, you know what I mean, so to speak?
Get ready for a challenge. So, hey, look,
Yeah.
it's like, if you're an entrepreneur, like, you're putting out fires, wearing a bunch of hats, you're doing stuff every day. And some of the things that come at me, like, I would have never seen coming, but you just got to be open, adaptable, flexible to it. And, more likely than not, you can think your way through it, or, people will eventually come to their senses. It's just like, we dealt with this in Texas, where there were Q3, there was a huge hubbub, or Q2 that, we're going to ban everything. In the 11th hour, they did this thing. And now we're seeing it again on the federal level. But, now there's even more jobs at risk. Now there's even more billions of dollars going in the economy, which nobody wants, taken out of the economy. And I do think a resolution will come to it, and it'll be very similar to what they did in Georgia and Texas, where it's like, all right, hey, here's the milligram caps. This is, there's a band. It goes, oh, you can only have 0.4 milligrams of this. Well, that's ridiculous. But I also do think, 50 milligram cans of THC beverages can be a little much for some of the consumers out there. So there's a happy medium. I think we'll come to that. And then once that's happened, okay, great. Now we can move forward. But there's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah, I was in New Jersey doing sales about 2 months ago, and saw a 1,000 milligram bottle on the shelf. I was blown away. I was like, what is going on here? But it's the same in the beer industry, when you'd see like the 18% triple IPAs coming out. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to achieve by producing this at scale? So, talk to me a little bit about your like, what led you down the nutrition path? Like, let's take it down to Pete graduating high school. Like, where are you? You're 18 years old or so. Where are you in the world, and what's going on in your life?
Yeah, 18. So I graduated. I'm from Wheaton, Illinois, so that's my hometown. Still live here. But I have traveled back and forth and moved places before I came back. I went to University of Iowa. There I studied business. But even back in high school, I was always kind of a guy who liked to, I guess I had some energy that I had to burn off. So I guess a positive outlet for me has always been hitting the gym, working out. I've been very fortunate. My mom's a great cook, so I learned how to eat right from the get-go. And I just kind of continued that on. That was my routine. I'm very routine oriented. So after that, I left. I ended up working in banking for a while. But it was there where I really met some interesting people that kind of made me think, hey, maybe I should do, something with an entrepreneurial back, or, more something more myself, entrepreneur. It seems a little more exciting. Obviously there's more risk to it, but once again, can you stomach it or not? And I think it's a phenomenal way to figure out what you're really made of and what you're capable of. You got to push yourself, right? So that really led me to, going into working at the nutrition company. I learned as much as I could, got to work with some really high level people, really interesting people who thought outside the box. And, there was definitely learning experiences that came after that when I was in there, but it gave me enough knowledge to feel like I could take some shots.
What do you think was one of the things that happened when you got into entrepreneurship that was the least expected thing that happened so far?
Well, I mean, in the regulated industry, I guess I didn't think when I got in 2018 or whatever, that was when the Farm Bill was coming in. And it was like, okay, well, everything's going to be fine. They're going to get regulated. I didn't think it would take 7 years. I mean, we're at 7 years now. I thought it'd be like, all right, maybe in a year or two we'll figure it out. But so I guess I didn't realize, how much can be out of your control, and you still got to manage the business, right? You just got to ride the wave.
That's probably the best advice you could give somebody right now. That's powerful.
Hey, that's the honest advice.
Yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about like the lines that you have. So you have your THC line, and then you have the fungi fusion. Talk about both lines, and then kind of why you chose those paths as the functional beverage, non-THC, and then the THC, and running them parallel.
Yeah. So we initially started as just CBD, right?
Okay.
And that's where we kind of really, got our feet underneath us, started testing flavors, figuring out what worked, what didn't, and then being in California, when we went over to California, obviously we're very involved in the THC over there. We just needed a compliant way to sell it across the country, and that's what this farm bill and some of the momentum in the market allowed us to do with the THC. So we already had it formulated for the THC line. So we came out and relaunched with our THC Happie in 4 SKUs with a 5 milligram THC, 5 milligram CBD. So a nice balanced ratio. It's about the equivalent of a beer. So that's about the effect. And that's really what, that's what a large percentage of the consumers want. They want to know how to be able to monitor their dosage, right? So we thought that was a good way to do it. But we had tested our flavors. It's we wanted to make sure it was a clean product coming from the nutrition industry. So we do add in or enhance it with ocean-derived minerals. So they're basically natural electrolytes in there, and then we sweeten everything with agave nectar, which is easier on your glycemic index, and it's easier for your body to process. So I wanted a clean label product, low calorie, had an effect, and it was functional, so it gave you what you were looking for. So that's what we're looking for in the THC line. We are launching in the next 2 weeks our 10 milligram version, which would be 10 milligrams THC and 5 milligrams CBD. A little bit enhanced in the sweetness, but only 40 calories still. So they're really good. I'm excited for those to hit the market. And then earlier this year, we launched the functional mushroom drink. Now, functional mushrooms is something that I have personally been taking for 10 years. And a lot of they've gained steam lately because of the Rise Coffee and these other drinks like that. But with our technology and kind of how we process things, we figured out a way to make them so you can't taste them in a nice beverage. So we, I thought it was great because I drink coffee a lot too. And, I drink it midday or later in the day, and then I get those caffeine jitters and I can't really sleep. Well, these lion's mane mushrooms and cordyceps, they give you kind of that natural energy without that caffeine buzz. So, you got a nice calm focus, a little boost of energy. But I don't have those caffeine crashes. And I thought it was a good way to, offer something another option for people to have. Plus, another added benefit, too, is I've got 2 kids, and they're really interested in what I'm doing. And obviously, functional mushrooms, number one, it's good for them. It's a nutritious product, and it's fun for them. They like the flavors. They're very involved. I'm working with them all the time on some funny stuff for marketing because I like to keep it fun.
I said this in our weekly meeting earlier this week, but I'll say it again because I know my kids listen to the podcast. But it was really awesome for the first time to be able to share a product that I sell with my kids at 14 and 15 years old. So we sat on the porch at our farm and had some fungi fusion this weekend, and it was great. It was really cool to be able to experience that with them. Yeah.
Yeah, glad. Yeah, no, it's all. And at the end of the day, it's a community thing, right? Like we want it to be approachable. We want it so people aren't scared of it. Hey, this product line may not be right for you. Totally cool, but maybe this is. Here's your options.
Yeah, my daughter is she sneaks a lot of Red Bull around, so she was really surprised. She's like, all right, and she was literally crashing. It was around 2 or 3 o'clock, and that was when I was like, all right, now's the time. We're going to put this stuff to the test. And I'll let you know, we did go and start cleaning the barn. We did some other things, so we did it hit the afternoon lift exactly like it was supposed to.
Good, glad to hear.
Yeah, it got that 15-year-old daughter right out of the bed. She was going to take a nap, and then I had her out there working in the yard, so it worked.
Yeah, and without all that sugar that Red Bull loads up, and that stuff is not good for you.
Exactly. Well, hey, I want to close out. I usually I leave it for an hour, but and if we have to do any repeats or anything like that, but you ran through everything as a pro as I expected. Is there anything else you kind of want to say in relation to current topic events or about your business or anything like that?
Yeah, on the mushroom line, I want to let people know that, we're excited that we're on Amazon now. So, we are a mainstream product, and, we are excited. We've launched in Louisiana, so you can find some Happie THC on Bourbon Street, which is pretty cool for us, right? Awesome. And we're actively, expanding and marketing, and we're excited we're excited where we're at right now. I mean, we're not excited about the politics and everything going on, but at the end of the day, I do think we're going to be fine and just maintain the course. And I'm excited about the future of the hemp industry. I read a statistic the other day that like 84% of adults, believe that THC beverages should be offered and they're not an issue. So, if these politicians are looking at data, which they should, I don't think anyone's ever had an approval rating of 84%. So it is a pretty, broad-based opinion that this isn't where they should be focusing their efforts. And I think eventually they'll come to their senses.
I agree. There's way too much money in tax dollars at stake to be ignored.
Definitely.
Excellent. Hey, Pete, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it, and getting your story out there. And I look forward to getting everybody excited about your brand and introducing everybody to products both in the THC side as well as the functional mushroom space. So thanks for everything you're doing, man. I really appreciate it, and for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me, Nate. Anytime.
All right. You have a good day, man.
You too. Bye.